everyone, Niev here, and today I am going to do a walkthrough, or a quick walkthrough, of my new deck that I got for Christmas, or Yule, that is the Anima Mundi Tarot. And I know it's been out for a few years now. I'm kind of late to the game with this one, but I've been wanting it for a really long time, and my sister-in-law very kindly got it for me for Yule. So this is the bag I made for it. I went with this moon embroidery on here. Yep, and I went with this fabric for the outside. I just bumped the camera, sorry. And the inside is a gold fabric, and I also used this pentacle ribbon around the edge here. So this is the bag for it that I made. All right, so let me pull this out, and here we go. We have the Anima Mundi Tarot, and this is an absolutely stunning deck. I've been in love with it since the moment I saw it online, and because really, I've been reading tarot for many years, but I took a long hiatus. A lot of my spiritual stuff took a big break, especially during my early to mid years of motherhood. Just with life in general, my mind was on other things, and I just wasn't in a spiritual mindset, if that made sense. And really over the past like 2 years or so is when my spirituality has really started to it waxes and wanes, but I'm definitely in that waxing period of my spirituality. Yeah. So, and then with tarot, it's really been the last like year and a half. And I did hear about this deck pretty early on in that. But at that time, I only recently have I started to collect some independent decks. Pretty much every one of my tarot decks before that were mass market decks, and that's just fine. Yeah, so I've really, over the past like 8 months or so, I've really started to be more interested in a lot of independent decks. Anyway, so first off, before I go through the cards here, I just want to say this cardstock is by far the best cardstock I have ever had with a tarot deck. And I know that's a big statement, but I've got to say, it's a linen finish, and I don't know if you can see in the camera. It's a linen finish, and the edging is beautiful too. This is one of the first decks I've ever gotten that has gilding at all, So, and this isn't like a harsh gold gilding, because a lot of especially mass market decks that have gold edging, it's kind of low quality. And even my one of my newest decks that I got for Christmas, the Relative Tarot, because that's mass market now. I didn't get the independent, I missed out on the independent one, but the mass market Relative Tarot has gold edging, but it's just not quite as nice as this one. So yeah, this is really nice gold edging. Anyways, so the cardstock, it's not like thick, it's not super thick or anything, but it's very flexible, closer to some of that thinner cardstock that's just easier to shuffle, which in my mind, that's what I want. I don't want hugely thick cardstock, because I've got the hands of a child. I have the hands of a 10-year-old, and I just I can't shuffle the really thick cardstock. And that's another reason that I'm not really interested in that Modern Witch Tarot, because I hear the cardstock is just massively thick. And yeah, anyway, so I'm just gonna go through and just look at some of these. There's a million walkthroughs of this deck online, so I'm not gonna go too deeply into each card here. We'll just talk about this deck while I'm flipping through these cards here. So I gotta say, like, the artwork in this is just stunning, and it's very simple. It's not like it's not super detailed. It's very simple and subtle, but boy, it packs a punch. And I really understand a lot of what they're going for with each of these with what they chose for each of these. And I love the Starry Night. I really feel like this deck is like it's like the perfect time for this deck, because I see this deck as like post-Christmas, kind of post-Yule winter vibes is what I get from this deck. So January, February, really my Imbolc season is where I see this deck really shining. And this is the only human in the entire deck, which is very telling since it is the devil. So yeah, that's very poignant. Yeah, so I just, and that a volcano erupting there. It's, the feel of this deck is very January, February for me. And because of that, I'm a little drawn to use this deck for Bridget, for the goddess Bridget. And I don't know that I'm going to like dedicate this deck to her. Like for the Crow Tarot, I have that specifically dedicated to the Morrigan, and I only use that deck with the Morrigan. Oh, look, Judgment without the extra E. I like that. So, but this, I use this deck for my full moon reading that I do, because I do, for the full moons, I do a reading with the Morrigan, and for the new moons, I do a reading with, I'm sorry, for the full moon, I do a reading with Bridget, and for the new moons, I do a reading with the Morrigan. And I used this deck for my full moon reading. Oh, now we're in the Pentacles. In general, my favorite suit. And I gotta say, it turned out, it just worked. It just worked very well for Bridget. I don't think I'm going to dedicate this deck to her. And oh, this card is really wintry. Yeah. It's funny because you wouldn't think the Five of Pentacles would be a favorite in a deck, but I actually really like this one. I don't know that it's my favorite. Maybe I'll do that 3 piles thing that I've done with the Pacific Northwest Tarot. 6, 7, and then 8, my favorite card in general, and it's represented by beavers, which is very 8 energy there. But yeah, so this went really well for the Bridget reading that I did. So I might gravitate toward this deck for Bridget readings. And what I really liked about this deck also is that the artwork in it, and it's very pippish, but it's got scenery too, is that it feels very adult, if that makes sense. Well, not like adult in that sort of way, but like it feels like a grown-up deck. It feels very serious. Because of this, I probably wouldn't use this deck just willy-nilly. I would use this deck for bigger things, if that makes sense, or spirit communication. Yeah. And I think this version of this deck, because I believe the 3 and the 10 of Swords in the original version, the first printing, there was blood on both this card and the 10 of Swords. And a lot of people don't like that, don't like bloody images for animals. But I gotta say, I kind of wish I had the first edition version. Not because I like to see blood or anything, but I don't know. I just feel like that kind of thing just doesn't bother me with this. 6, 7. So, yeah, I kind of wish it was the original, but that's okay. So yeah, this one in the first edition, we see this black pool here, and in the original, it was all red. So it was like a real pop of red here. Page. But this is just a stunning, stunning deck, and I'm really, really glad my sister-in-law got it for me. Thank you so much. I like the Wands suit in this deck. And the Wands suit for me in this deck is actually very pippish. Oh, this card is stunning. The 2 of Wands. That galaxy off in the distance there. I mean, that's beautiful. I love this card. Probably one of my favorites. Yeah, the wand suit in general in this deck, for some reason, it's very, very pippish, but I really like it. Yeah, see how pippish it is? But it's just, it gets the feeling across of what the card is trying to say. So I don't think that I will do a major deep dive of this deck like I'm doing with the Pacific Northwest Tarot, but I might do a few things like, you know, doing the 3 piles of my love, dislike, and or love, like, and meh piles. Yeah, and that I like this 10 of Wands, the bundle of sticks there. So yeah, I'm really, really liking this deck. I love this Queen of Wands here. There's just something, I feel like this deck radiates with the animistic energy. Like, my spirituality is very animistic, and I feel like this deck kind of taps into that, if that makes sense. There's something about it that I feel deeply, deeply drawn to this deck in a very spiritual kind of way. In a, like, I wouldn't do everyday mundane readings with this deck. This is the kind of deck that I would really just use for big issues or spiritual connection. And it, like I said, it just worked beautifully for that Bridget reading for the full moon. And I'll probably pull this out again for Imbolc, because it did feel very Bridget to me. And this time of year, this that after Christmas winter time, you know what I mean? Yeah, I just, and this, you know, even though it's standard tarot size in roughly, but I can still get my hands around this because this cardstock's not too thin, or I mean too thick, and I can do that, and I can bridge. I mean, that was a little bridge, but I can bridge with this. I can overhand shuffle. Like, when I pulled this deck out of the box and started just shuffling and going through the cards, I immediately fell in love. Like, I was already in love with this deck before I even got it in my hands, but seeing this cardstock, this is, like, I have found what the best cardstock for me. Like, this is, I want all my decks to be like this. You know, if I ever make a tarot deck, I've made a Lenormand deck, a few actually, but if I ever make a tarot deck, this is what I want. And look at that. I can actually bridge this, you know, because I couldn't bridge the Pacific Northwest Tarot. I can riffle shuffle it, but I can't bridge it. Oh, I got some lint there. Anyway, so, what I used with this deck for the full moon reading, I used, and this actually turned out perfectly. I just on a whim pulled out the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Oracle here by Kim Krans, because funny enough, I have the Wild Unknown Tarot, and I got that many, many years ago, actually, when it was all the rage. And this, even though I was in a bit of a tarot slump or whatever at the time, I did get the Wild Unknown Tarot because it was, you know, the hype around it and blah, blah, blah. I gotta say, I've never really connected with that deck, but the Animal Spirit Oracle really does connect for me. Okay, sorry about that for a second. I had to pause the video because my husband came out and was running the coffee machine, the coffee grinder. Anyway, so what I was saying was that I do actually find that I connect very well to this Animal Spirit deck by Kim Krans, the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit. And I don't know what the difference is between this one and the Wild Unknown Tarot, and why I connect better with this deck than I do with that tarot deck. And the size of these are pretty similar, because I think this Oracle deck is actually closer to, yeah, they're practically the same size. There's like a tiny bit, this one is a tiny bit bigger, taller, same width. Yeah, pretty much exactly the same width. And there's a slight difference in the corners, but, oops, wrong deck. But yeah, so, I don't know what it is, but for some reason I connect more with this one than I do the Wild Unknown. And one of the things that I was thinking about this deck, about the Anima Mundi Tarot, is that it feels like a combination of the Wild Unknown Tarot with the Pagan Underworlds, or Otherworlds, Pagan Otherworlds. Which is, I don't have that deck, but that one's also on my wish list, and I'm pretty sure I am going to get that deck for me this year. I really, really like the Pagan Underworlds. But there's this adult slash spiritual vibe to both of these decks that really connect for me. I really think that this deck is a lot like the Pagan Otherworlds, but like mixed with the Wild Unknown Tarot, if that makes sense. So, you know, I guess it's no surprise that the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Oracle actually pairs really nicely with this. Yeah, let me actually put it in the middle here and to kind of see how it goes, because these two these two decks actually surprisingly went really nicely together. But yeah, it just, I don't know what it was, but there were, see, these ones look real nice together. There was just something that paired well with these, I thought. And it's different cardstock. This is a very matte cardstock, whereas this is linen, and I definitely prefer the linen. But this one's not too bad, and you know, it is an oracle deck, so it's not a full 78 cards. So despite this not being the linen finish, it's actually still very easy for me to shuffle. So yeah, wow, look at these three. Wow, look at that. And the other deck that I used during this during the full moon ritual, I can't speak, sorry. The other deck I used is a Lenormand deck that I actually created, and no, this is not for sale. I can't sell this because it's a licensed thing. And I made two sizes. Right now I only have the one size, but that is my Studio Ghibli Lenormand. And this actually looked really nice. I'm not sure if I'm in frame. Let me move this up a bit. Let me see. Still in frame? Okay, still in frame. So this actually looked very nice with these two decks. I want to get my my bigger one that I made, the one that's bridge sized, because I made a small square one, this one, that didn't have titles, it just had the numbers, and then I made a bridge sized one that does have the titles. So yeah, I think, wow, look at that one. And this is man, I believe, or you know, the man card, and that's this is from Graver the Fireflies. Yeah, I thought that was a good representation for the coffin card. Anyway, so I'm not going to keep going through my Ghibli Lenormand. But yeah, so anyway, so this is, in short, this is an amazing deck, and I'm really, really glad I got it. I'm really, really glad and this is a great Hierophant card. Hierophant is usually not one of my favorites, but this is a good Hierophant card here. And the book that came with it it's just a little black book. Nothing too crazy about it. It does give the name of the animals or the species that is in the deck. Let me actually go to the Hierophant here. Yeah, elk, The Hierophant suggests to stay within convention rather than being innovative. Now is the time to stick to what has already been tried and true. The Hierophant, however, also encourages pursuing knowledge, such as through education or joining a group. And it does give the upright and reverse meanings. Upright is religion, conformity, tradition, education, group identity. I don't read reversals, but if you do, the reversals for this one are confusion, feeling restricted, breaking from convention, and peer pressure. So, yeah. So this is a really, really nice deck, and I'm super glad it is now in my collection. So I'm going to leave this here. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Here's the box for it. Just putting everything around here. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.